Thanks for coming on. This has been a long time in the works. So I think we've had back and forth for about 2 years of like, oh, we should do, and then I've had to cancel and you've had to cancel, whatever. So I think actually mainly me. But it's great to have you on. I was listening to you this morning. I went for a walk with the dogs, and I was listening to you on Phoebe's podcast on Run Fast, Lift Heavy, or Lift Heavy, Run Fast, Lift Heavy. I think I was right the first time. So I got to know you a bit from that, and I follow you on Instagram and stuff, and I've gotten to know you a bit from that. But I didn't realize. So I heard you when you were talking to her. You were talking about you talked about gymnastics a lot. Was that when you were a kid that you did that?
Yeah, so I did gymnastics from the age of like, I want to say like 6 or 7 until like 16, 17. And then it was like kind of a little bit off between like the teen years because you get used to going out with your friends and stuff. And you're like, I don't want to go training tonight. But like I got back into it like a little bit later on. And then, yeah, so it was a good chunk of my life where my sport was dedicated to gymnastics. Yeah.
And what, like, you were obviously, because I know I talked to Lucy Campbell before, and she was saying that there comes a point where you kind of have to decide, like, am I good enough? Do I keep doing this, or do I? And it usually comes like not early, but I guess I took it as quite early, like 12, 13, 14, around there somewhere. So you were obviously fairly decent if you kept going well into your teens.
Uh, I was never at the level that I wanted to be at. Like whatever sport I've done throughout my life, I've always wanted to be the best at it. And like I knew that I never got the opportunities to be able to do that. In gymnastics, it was kind of savage like back when I was doing it because you could only reach the top if you looked a certain way.
Oh,
Um and I was always like the bigger, I was more of like the powerful gymnast. Like I was good at like tumbling, I was good at um like the bars and the vault, but I was never really like the flexible kind of like elegant looking one. So I was never
yeah.
good at the floor routines, and I say not good, but like it wasn't my best.
Mm.
And unfortunately like back then, like if you didn't look or move a certain way, then they were like, no, we don't want to know you. Which is pretty savage.
Was that
But it led me
explicitly
up.
said? Like, was it said out loud?
No, it
Like,
was it was never said, but like when you look back, it's very clear that that's what it was like. And like my coach who I had was brilliant. She like we're still friends today, and she knew that as well.
yeah.
Like so, I was never picked to be
She
like
knew, like, no matter how good you are, that there's going to come a point where you get to somewhere and the judges are going to be like, no.
yeah. It was like the coaches who were like above her were
Mm.
like, you knew I would never get a look in kind of thing, even though I was always the one like wanting to stay behind and practice new skills and stuff. Like it was pretty savage.
And what was your, so were you an active house then? Were your parents encouraging you to do that, or did you find it yourself, or how did you get into it?
My parents have never ever been pushy in anything that I've done, not even school, not sport. They've always just let me find my own feet.
Yeah.
But they've been supportive in every single sport that I've done. So whatever I pick, they're always behind me. So it's pretty nice to be able to have that.
Have you got brothers and sisters?
I've got an older brother, yeah, but we don't speak.
Okay.
We won't go down that road.
Yes, that's fair. And then, so what age were you when you stopped doing gymnastics then?
Like probably around like 16, 17, and then I was going like back and forth to like adult classes for a little bit, that kind of vibe. And then I found athletics then, and then I kind of went into that route and then CrossFit from there.
And how long did you do athletics for, or what was your focus in that?
Um, so my mum was a GB runner. Like she
Oh,
ran
wow.
into, yeah, she was like an 800 meter and 1500 meter runner, and I definitely don't take that off her because I'm a complete opposite. But I always wanted to give like track stuff like a little go, and then I got into like 100, 200s. I tried 400s for a little bit, but I didn't really get on with them. And I was actually like progressing kind of well, and then I had like a stress fracture in my foot, which led me obviously I couldn't do, because training for
Mm.
athletics is basically sprinting, it's in the gym or you're running. I couldn't do either. So yeah, and then I kind of found CrossFit off the back of that then, and then kind of didn't look back.
What level did your mom run to then? Was she at, did she go to anything like anything big?
Yeah, she had a GB vest at like 23, I think.
Wow.
So she was pretty high level, so it's pretty cool.
And is your dad sporty?
No, he's not sporty, but he's fit, if you get what I mean.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's active, so
Yeah, I'm sure he takes some of the credit.
yeah.
Um, and when you stress fracture, then is that from like it's just kind of overuse basically? Is it just like
Yeah.
constant compounding? Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, in my foot, and then I've had surgery on my ankle then from like the ligaments and stuff. So it was like, but that was early days. That didn't affect me moving into CrossFit, so that's fine.
um, okay, so you do gymnastics, and like it can't be easy to do something and to be good at it or to feel that you're good at it, and then the thing that stops you doing it is like your appearance essentially, or your, I guess, your height or size or broadness or whatever just doesn't fit.
Yeah,
Um, like, were you okay with that? Like at the time, were you, or is it like kind of in hindsight, are you like, oh, that was actually a bit shitty, and at the time you're just kind of
yeah.
like
At the
blind
time,
to
you
it?
have no idea. You just go
Yeah,
through. You're like, I'll just keep working hard, keep working hard, keep working hard, and then they were trying to like push me down different avenues, like trampolining and stuff, and I was just like. Obviously, I give it a go because I'd give anything a go. But now I look back, I'm like, obviously, there's reasons for that.
yeah,
It's pretty savage, and I got to like a certain level in gymnastics where I was loving it and I was competing, and I was like more or less not, I was at grade level, but I was like winning medals, and it was like I remember that feeling of like, oh my god, I've won something and I'm on the podium and stuff. And then but I was basically never able to excel past that level because of the way probably, yeah, that I looked and performed.
um, it's like because you've been it was like 10 years then, if you said like 6 to 7 to 16 or 17 or whatever, like, so
Yeah.
um it kind of been easy just like moving on from it, like just to be like, oh yeah, that's fine. Like I'm assuming there was like a bit of a mourning period, or was it like that athletics, when you were kind of good at athletics, was it like, oh, that's okay, like I don't
Yeah.
need to care about that now, I've got this thing?
It was different when you went into athletics then, because like the typical sprinter would be powerful, and that's the kind of like look I had. So when
Mm.
they seen me, they were like, oh, like fresh meat kind of thing. And I had a lot of support in athletics then, and I've got exposed to really good coaches. But I don't know, I think it was something about it which I didn't really like have the fire in my belly enough for. Like it wasn't enough of a like, it was just because it was the same thing all the time. It was kind of like, and then I went into a CrossFit gym for the first time. I was like, oh wow, like you can do this, and it involves gymnastics, and it just like, it was a whole different kind of feeling of like getting hooked to it.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of transferable skills there as well, so you have all the gymnastic stuff. So I'm assuming any like strict stuff was just a piece of piss, and
Mm.
then the kipping stuff, just body awareness and balance and stuff, probably helped you be really good at that. And then even just like learning weightlifting, I'm assuming was a lot easier as well, because you kind of, you're aware of where everything is, and
Yeah.
then I guess weightlifting was obviously very easy for you. So is it the gym that you started in? There was a weightlifting gym connected to that, is it?
Yeah, so the gym that I started at, it was CrossFit SA1. They have like a weightlifting academy as like a part of the gym, so it's like kind of split in two, but it's basically one gym. And then they kind of picked up on that, like from just looking at me doing CrossFit and it being like strength within CrossFit. Like they were like, oh god, you should come give weightlifting a try. And I was like, oh yeah. And it's back then again, it was like one of those things where if somebody told you should try weightlifting or powerlifting, you take offense because you think that they're going off the way you look.
Yeah.
Um, so it took me a while to be like, yeah, I'll give it a go. And then obviously, like, it so happened that it was kind of like something that I should have tried a long time ago.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
And you went to the Commonwealth Games, is that right?
Yeah, back in 2018.
What was that like?
It still stands like the best experience I've ever had, and I want to go back to the next one in 2026. But I kind of sacrificed the 2024 Commonwealth Games because I put everything into CrossFit, and I knew that the dates overlapped with each other, so I couldn't have done both. So I dedicated everything to like, right, I'm going to make the CrossFit Games, so like I'm going to knock the Commonwealth Games on the head. And neither of them happened, which was probably the hardest pill to swallow. So yeah, I'd like, the focus is, and I've already made plans with my coach to be able to do the next Commonwealth, because it doesn't overlap with the CrossFit Games either, so it's pretty cool to kind of head towards that as well.
Okay. And what hoops do you have to jump through do you have to do a certain amount of like competitions or something do you earn points, or how does that work?
So the qualifying process for the Commonwealth Games starts 18 months before the
Okay.
Commonwealth Games. And then yeah, you have to like, you've got to compete at certain competitions, ranked competitions, like the British and stuff like that, to qualify, get your total and qualify. And then you basically have to be ranked I want to say top 6 in the Commonwealth in your weight category to then get selected.
Okay. So it's like recently anyway, it hasn't been possible to balance the two. Like they just overlap too much. And then, so is it they're changing their season? Is it?
I think it's because the Commonwealth Games is in Australia again in
Okay, yeah.
2026, so the dates are a little bit different. But because I don't know, it's just so happened that it's actually fallen that I can actually go for that goal.
Yeah, and do the
next time.
two simultaneously.
Yeah.
Because you did that at the start. You like when you went the first time, you were still training CrossFit a lot, weren't you?
Yeah, so that's when I was like doing CrossFit as part of a team, and I went to regionals that year as a team. But yeah, my 80% of my training was weightlifting. Like I was nowhere near fit. I could never have ever have gone individual, put it that way.
What was it like balancing the two then? Like, is that
Uh,
something that you're worried about doing again, or like excited about doing?
I'm more excited about doing it now the next time round, because I've kind of brought everything up at the same time. While as back in 2018, it was like weightlifting was here and CrossFit was here, while as now they're like here. So I'd like to like progress in having weightlifting just that like tiny little bit, like being my best thing, and then obviously by the time the Commonwealth Games comes, it should look like that. But right now it's like kind of level.
Yeah, I guess it'll stand you in competitions as well, where like in CrossFit competitions, where if a weightlifting workout comes up, people are like, okay, no problem.
Yeah, yeah,
I heard you talking about the Wadapalooza, the lifting event in Wadapalooza, and that you like that it was nice, but it was a bit maybe anticlimactic is harsh, but like that it just was a bit like, yeah, it's okay. Do you know, like whereas if it had been a swimming event or whatever, you would have been more excited.
yeah,
Um, is that like, are you aware of those kind of feelings at the time? Like when you like after the event, do you feel flat after it? Or is it like, is it more with the benefit of hindsight, you think like, oh, it was nice, but it would have been better if?
yeah. Straight away, like it's cool, like how I approach a lifting event or a barbell event. I'm so calm and I'm so relaxed. But like if it was obviously like coming off the floor and being like I just won something with a run or something with like a low skill movement in, I'd be like, oh wow, like ecstatic, because like the work that I've been doing is actually like paid off. Not the weightlifting hasn't, because obviously I still work hard on like barbell and stuff, but it would be like a different kind of feeling to be like, like it's actually paid off, like 5 years of hard work is actually paid off kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm yet to have that, I'm yet to experience that feeling, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen.
Yeah. Cause I've heard, like, I remember hearing Fraser talk about that, where there's like workouts where he thinks he's going to do well. It just, it's just kind of okay. Whereas like there's like say that sprint event or whatever, he holds that up as his best memory or one of his best memories because it was like unexpected or other people didn't see it coming.
Yeah,
When you're at a competition then, so obviously if you're like you know, weightlifting is, it's kind of like kick takers in rugby, where everything's routine, and like there's a, like every kick is exactly the same, every lift is exactly the same, so there's no, you know, it doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing. If you're on the platform, there's a bar in front of you, that's all you think about. But like when you're at a competition, like say strength and depth, or you're at like Wadapalooza or whatever, is it harder to manage like your emotions and stuff, and you're like outside of lifting events, like say when it is a running event, or when it is a like gymnastics event or something else? Like, do you struggle when it's not just a barbell event to kind of find a state of flow with it?
No, I mean, I treat every workout like pretty much, that's what I do, try and focus on, is like I'm gonna give every workout I do like the same emotion, the same feeling. So like, again, it's still like a work in progress.
Do you work
But
with someone on that, or is that just yourself?
I know I work with a woman called Kate. She's actually from New Zealand, so our time difference is very different to kind of our calls and stuff. But I've been working with her for like almost 2 years now, I think, coming up to 2 years. I started working with her before, I want to say, semi-finals last year, I think, or maybe it was just after. But she's been absolutely amazing. Like, couldn't recommend her anymore. Like, I have weekly calls with her. And on competition weekends, like obviously we have calls every evening about the next day, how the day went, and it's just like somebody who you can have listen to you as well,
Yeah.
rather than be like, you should have done this, you should have done that. It's like, okay, what could you have done? And it makes you think about it rather than somebody being like down your throat about it. So yeah, it's pretty cool to have somebody like that in your corner.
That's great. And does she give you like homework and stuff? Is it like, is there little tasks that you have to do as well?
She does, yeah. And she's like, have you listened to what I sent you last night? And I'm like, no. And she's like, well, make sure you do it tonight. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh. She's like,
Just about to take play,
yeah.
Kate.
Even though
Back
she's
off.
4 hours away, she's just like, have you
Yeah.
done this? Have you done that? But
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
it's
like, you're
good.
supposed to be reducing my stress, not
Yeah.
increasing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a thing on TikTok the other day, and it was like this one question will eradicate 90% of like marriage arguments or whatever. And it was like, if someone starts talking to you, you stop them and ask, are we listening or problem solving? If you say problem solving, you can give suggestions. You be like, oh, you should have done this. And if it's listening, you just go, that's shit. That's really bad. Yeah. So yeah, it's fucking hard to do though.
Yeah.
Because I was curious, like when I was talking to Reggie, I was asking him about like, say, strength and depth. The two of you were at strength and depth, and I kind of assumed that would be worse. But he said he felt that it was that it would have been worse had you been at separate ones, because one of you could have potentially qualified or not qualified first, and then would have been like elated or disappointed, and the other person would have to like deal with that and then have their own shit going on, and then just the stress of travel or not being there and all that kind of stuff. But I suppose she takes a lot of that pressure away from, say, your private relationship, is that you don't have to actually lean for that kind of support. Like you have someone in your corner who you can just be like, oh, that workout went shit and I just need to vent about it, rather than like, well, I like, because I assume Kate wouldn't be like, well, I would have just done the toast bar unbroken, to be honest, Taylor.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it actually worked out when we had the email come through, and it was just like, we read it and he was like, I'm at Sid. I was like, I'm at Sid. And then it was kind of like, okay, like we kind of went into that then, like, I knew that we wouldn't like be seeing each other in the day and stuff. Like, we're very, very different on competition day, like polar opposite. I'm very much like, I'm in, I'm out. Like, I'll go in just for my warm up. I'll go, if I got time to go back and chill out, like I will. If not, I'll go find a quiet space. He deals with his nerves like a little bit differently, where he's like more sociable, and I'm not like that.
Yeah, he was saying that he was like, oh, I'll go for a coffee and stuff in between. I was like, what? Like, are you not supposed to remove yourself from the environment entirely? But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
crazy how
find
different
like
people deal with it.
the atmosphere when you compete at a semi-finals, like compared to like Dubai or like Wadapalooza, it's very intense. Like the feeling of it, you feel very claustrophobic because of the place you're in. It's like no windows, like it's like hot and everyone's like everything's loud, and I find that really difficult to like get in the zone. So I've got to be like know what my warm-up is. Okay, I'm on at this time, I go and I get out, do my job and leave basically. But he's very different.
So when you were at Commonwealth Games, so you stopped focusing on weightlifting after that, and you said it's because they don't like CrossFit. Is that right?
Yeah, so it was basically just like I was always going to go for the 20. Was it this year the Commonwealth Games was? Yeah, the 2022. That was always the plan, to return and try and podium at the next one. And then it was just like a light bulb moment. And I was just like, do you know what? Now, and I had that email for the to be selected for Europeans for Great Britain, and I was just like, I like knew straight away. I was just like, not accepting it. Like it wasn't even like a 10-second like thought. It was like, no. And at that point I knew. I was just like, right, I'm going all in on CrossFit. And I'm going to give it a real good shot. So that was like 2019 when I decided I'm going to give everything I've got to try and get to the CrossFit Games. So yeah.
It takes serious balls to do that, because like, it's like if someone, like, you hear those stories all the time where someone loses out on an opportunity and it like fires them up to do something else, but like, the generally accepted thing is when you're offered an opportunity, you take it just in case it doesn't come back around again, or just in case, like, whatever. But like, to have that immediacy of no, like, when you told other people that, like when you told your parents or your coach or whatever else, like, oh, I declined, were people like pulling their hair out, being like, what the fuck are you doing?
They would never like come across like that, but they probably like
Internally.
maybe you should like do it. But no, like I knew straight away. I was just like, if I'm gonna give 100% of my life and commitment to CrossFit, like I know that weightlifting and CrossFit didn't work before, so like it's not gonna work again. Like it'll be different down the line when I get better and fitter at CrossFit, and I'm able to then be strong and fit and good at skills and everything. When everything becomes one,
Yeah.
then I can consider doing it. And that's why like the 2026 Commonwealth Games is a goal, because I know by that point I will be well experienced and well rounded enough to go and do the both of them.
I get it's just a broader base, I guess. Your base,
Yeah.
your foundation will be stronger in everything. And then, so when you were when you're doing weightlifting, was there were they fine with the fact that you were doing CrossFit as well? Were they a bit like, oh, come on, you stop that and just do this? Or were
Yeah,
CrossFit like, oh, you stop lifting and just do this?
they were just very anti CrossFit. Like the people within Welsh weightlifting are just, and they know it as well. Like CrossFitters and them do not get on. There was various uproar many of times, and by that point, like besides that, Great Britain were amazing. They're like, Taylor, if you hit your qualifying total and you're good enough and you're better than this person, we're gonna take you. We don't care if you're doing a 5K run before it.
Yeah.
If you've hit their numbers, we'll take it. And I'm like, that's why I think I still have that kind of like internal kind of drive for weightlifting, because there is still a part which I love the sport, but there are good people within it. But at the time, yeah, it was just like Commonwealth Games being one of the bestest experiences I've ever done. It also came with one of the worst, because of the stress I had to go through of being threatened to be sent home on the next flight from Australia because I wanted to go to a CrossFit gym. Like it was just bizarre. And I was just like, yeah, fuck you, I'm gone. I don't want to do this. Like as soon as I land back in the UK, like I'm done.
Is that normal? Like, is that common? Have you talked to other people who've had similar experiences, or do you think you're
Yeah,
alone in that?
it happened to me and another girl called Laura Hughes, who was also a very good CrossFit athlete at the time. She was going to she was like a consecutive regional athlete. and we're still good friends now. But she had the same issue. So yeah, it wasn't just me. I had her to kind of like have support out there, which was perfect, because she was still going to the CrossFit gym, so I was still going with her. It was like school. It was just like you're in this prison, and if
Yeah,
you go
right.
outside the gate, you're like,
Yeah. Are
you're
we
in
allowed to go
jail.
downtown?
Yeah.
And are you expecting that to be different then this time?
Yes. So one of the reasons why is because my best friend was my weightlifting coach, and she's part of Welsh weightlifting, and now
Okay, right.
she's got the head job.
Okay.
Um, so she's like, you can come back, and I'm not going to hate you for doing CrossFit.
Yeah, yeah.
So that gives me some like positivity towards the sport. There's actually good people in charge. So
Yeah. Yeah, because it like, oh, you haven't had an easy relationship with sport. Like
no,
for
I
someone
really haven't.
for someone to keep doing it, it's like Jesus. Like I would have just quit. Like to so you do a sport, as you do a sport that you really like, and then you essentially don't look the right way. So you after 10 years you kind of move on, and then you do another sport and you're observed as like a rough diamond or fresh meat or whatever as you put it. And then you break a bone, and then you find another sport, and then a parallel one where they're like, you're not fucking allowed to do that other thing. You have to like you're gonna be sent home or whatever. So like even the best possible moment that you have is tainted with like just shitty
Mm.
people saying shitty things. Um, so when you went back to CrossFit then full time after the Commonwealth Games, um, okay, so like yeah, that experience makes the turning down the place in Europeans a lot. So it's an easier pill to swallow, I suppose, for anyone who knew you at the time to be like, yeah, okay, I get that. Like there probably was less confusion about it. Um, and then you go back full time. You're like, right, I'm going all in. And I know I heard you talk to Phoebe about say you did like French throwdown and stuff in that year, and I think the way you put it was my name was nowhere to be seen, and like I suppose you accept that it's like that's fine, it's not my focus or whatever. When it is your focus, then does it change things? Like is it harder, is training harder, is as in like mentally, is it harder to commit to training or to get through a season of training when all you're doing is CrossFit, and then there's this extra pressure of I turned down a fucking place at Europeans to go all in on this, and if this doesn't work, like what happens?
Yeah, I feel like back then it was more of that kind of feeling where like, have I done the right thing? But now I'm like totally okay with it. Like I know I'm gonna get to the CrossFit Games. Like
Hmm.
it's in touching distance, and I just need a clean run basically. And I know I've done the right thing, because getting that moment is going to be like the only thing that I've ever really wanted.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm not really worried about that.
Um, you moved, so you like in part of the process of going all in, I guess you moved a pretty ill-fated move. So just before COVID, you moved, you moved country essentially, and then got locked down, and then we're stuck. Like so, your plan, you had this great plan, and then like everyone's plans, then I suppose it was changed. Um, and then you moved. So you've since moved back. So you were up in Wigan, and you were with JST, and you've since moved back. And then from talking to Reggie the other week, he was kind of saying you're bouncing up and down between say his home and your home.
Yeah.
Um, do you think you're in a better place, like say just you personally now than you have been in previous years? Like as in say before COVID, during COVID, because obviously like as an athlete that was like a fairly successful period of time there with all the online stuff and quarterfinals, and you were at Waterpaloozа, and you had all these like what I guess moments that other athletes would kill for, like to do really well in quarterfinals and to everyone talking about you and stuff, and you know a lot of people really would love that to happen.
Mm.
Whereas I think talking to you now, you seem like now you're in more of a confident space or more of a self-assured space. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wouldn't change anything that I've been through in the last 2 years. I feel like I've gone through it at the right time in my career, where I can learn from it and be mature from it. Um, but yeah, let's just put it down to it just wasn't my vibe. I'm glad that I've learned that now rather than this season, and I'm a year old. So yeah, it was kind of like in COVID, I've always trained on my own. From weightlifting to CrossFit, I always had my own like space, my home gym. So I'd always trained on my own, like always did qualifiers there, weightlifting sessions, like all on my own. So like when I had to, when I decided to move to Wigan to be in like a bigger space with more athletes, it took a while to find out, but then I knew that it wasn't the right place for me because that's not how I tick. I just like being free, if that makes sense. Like,
as in like your own, you want to train when you want to train, and not, oh, the group are meeting at 10 o'clock and you have to be there at 9:30 and warm up or whatever.
and I'm not saying that's not for everybody, because
Yeah.
people love that. But I feel like the only time that you need that is when you go on training camps. You don't need that 365 days a year. You just need it at certain times of the season. And again, that's something I would never have learned if I didn't go through the experience of that. And I train with people now, but like I'm solely focused, and for the first time in 18 months, I can say I'm doing it for myself, and I'm doing it. I know my path. I know what I want. I know how committed I am. I know what I'm motivated by, and I feel like a completely different athlete.
So the pressure that you felt like around that year, what year was that? Like 2021, last year, where you did really well in quarterfinals and Reggie did really well in quarterfinals, and there was like, you were on that, like you went on to Instagram, you were on like the CrossFit page or the games page, you were on like what is the name of that fucking real thing? The chipper, you were on that. Like, you were mentioned on Talking Elite Fitness and all that kind of stuff. Like, are you like, when that's happening, are you like, oh, this is nice, like I'm getting recognized? Or are you like, oh fuck, like what if this is as high as I go and everyone's all talking about me now and stuff? Or are you even aware that any of that stuff is happening?
No, I'm a little bit different to Reggie. Like, I'm totally unaware of what's all of that stuff. It's pretty cool when somebody says like, oh, have you seen this? And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool, but I don't take any emotion from it. But that year, quarterfinals, it was very, again, like the setup that we had peaking for that season, it was just me and Reggie training together, with eyes on, in the garage. Like, it was a small space. He was just my training partner. Again, I thrived off that because that's how I tick as an athlete. Like, I like being in that like small space. I like being motivated by what I'm not going like head to head with someone, but I've got somebody to bounce off. And when you put me in that bigger space with a lot more people, I just don't that's just not the way I work. So
It was a fucking incredibly small space. Like,
yeah,
I've never seen the videos being like, this is intense.
Yeah, and when I look back, it will always be one of my favorite training periods ever. And Reggie will say the same. Like, that 3 months of being like up there in Steve's garage was one of the best 3 months of training we've ever had. It was just everything about it. It was so basic, but it was so good. And then it became like this bigger picture and more people. And yeah, I kind of just went the other way, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of.
I had like a lot of other stuff going on in life as well. It wasn't just that environment, but it was a lot more pressure added from other angles of life. And yeah, but again, I've learned from it, and I know I wouldn't do it again. So I'm so happy that I've gone through what I've gone through.
Like, it sounds kind of similar to, say, Danielle and Underdogs, where it was like, this is what's going to happen, and this is, here we go, and then it, like, things kind of evolve and change, and then, I guess it doesn't suit everybody what's changing. So then it's
Yeah.
kind of like, but I suppose, as you say, it's good that you had the foresight to say like, the kind of thing I want to change now, instead of like, you would be gutted if, like, say, I don't know, in January you were like, fuck, maybe I should have gone like, a year ago instead of now or whatever. So,
Yeah.
um, so did you, you left JST before semi-finals, is that right?
Yeah, it was about, I want to say, I can't remember the exact time. It was probably about four weeks or so before semi-finals. Again, not great timing,
Yeah.
but nothing this year, nothing in the last 8 months of it has been good timing for anything. So it's been a learning curve. But do you know what? By that point, I was just like, what the fuck else can go wrong? So I'm just gonna crack on, and just get my head down and just do what I'm here to do. And then 2 weeks before that, I fucking tore my meniscus. So I was just like, do you know what? Just adds to the list. So let's just keep going.
Yeah. So you
So
were injured at strength and depth then?
yeah, 2 weeks before, just doing one of the lowlands workouts with the burpees over the box, and I felt a pop. My knees have always been a little bit shitty from gymnastics into weightlifting. So I just deal with the pain as I go along. But I
Sounds
knew,
delightful.
yeah, I knew that pop wasn't right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And were you, in those 2 weeks, was there like oh, maybe I should decline, or were you always going to go?
I was devastated. I was like, everything was going through my head. And it was like, at the time when I done it, I was like, oh, that didn't feel right, but it wasn't any pain. And then 3 days later, like, I just couldn't move my knee. I had no flexion, and it was just so sore, and I couldn't even pick up an empty barbell and do a muscle clean without my knee locking. And I was just like in tears. I was just like, what the fuck am I going to do? And then the workout started getting released, and the running one came up, and I was just like, I can't even run. And then I just had really good hands-on people. I've been, where I was living, physios and stuff, and they got me sorted enough so I could have compete, and that's what I did. And I was just very lucky that I got to go on the floor, really.
Because, like, I spoke to Elliot Simmons a while back, and he was similar. He injured his back just before, about, I think he said like 4 or 5 weeks beforehand. And he said that, like, he could have pulled out, like, maybe, like, that like, maybe the right thing to do, like, if his coach was deciding, maybe the right thing to do would be to pull out, but that he was just determined to, like, for the mental aspect of it, even to compete and to be like, okay, like, my whole world didn't fall apart. I didn't get what I wanted, but I did okay. And this happened, that happened. Um, were you, like, say, after the devastation, like, once you started feeling like, oh, they're kind of working on my knee here a bit, it's feeling a little bit better, from that moment, were you always going to go, or were you still back and forth, like, maybe this isn't a good idea, maybe, like, long term I should skip it? Or
Um, there was never a part of me that was like, I'm not going to compete as such. Even though I was training, I was in pain, I was just like, fuck, am I going to be able to do this? I never came out directly, them words didn't fall out my mouth and say, like, I don't think I can compete. Like, in my head, yes, but I never really, like, give into it. And then that running event came out, and we trialed it in training, and I was like, oh, okay, like, I've done it, feel all right, like. And then the next day I couldn't fucking walk. Like, my knee was the worst it's ever been. And I was just like, what if this happens after the first event at Sid? Like, what if it happens and then, like, I can't compete after that? So for me, the anxiety laid with the first event. Like, I had to get through that first event as best I could, and pray that the inflammation and that stayed down for the rest of the weekend. And I was just on so many painkillers, and I got through it. So that's all I could have asked for, really.
Where did you finish at strength and depth?
8th.
So that's last chance spot, isn't it?
Yeah.
So just I got through the first workout. That's all I could have asked for. It's like, yeah, you did pretty well though. I mean, like you beat like all but 7 of the athletes that were there. Were you expecting to do that well? Like say once you got through that first workout, were you like, all right, okay, yeah, let's go, or were you? Was it throughout the weekend? Were you like on the phone to Kate, being like, what if it blows up tomorrow?
Yeah, I was all like, because our hotel was like a good 15-minute walk away, which was perfect because I love having that like walk to the venue before the day starts. And every time I walked over, and we had to go up those stairs, across the bridge and down those stairs the other side. And every time it came down to like the going down the stairs part, I was just like, ow, ow. And I was just like, oh my fucking god. I was like, no, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Yeah, I got through it. And it was just like every event after that, and the lifting event, I think knowing that I hadn't squat cleaned and I couldn't squat clean, I had to power all of the complex. That was just a mental drain. Knowing that I should be winning that workout and I had to settle for like top 5. Like they all added up over the weekend, where that's what cost me the top 5 really. Obviously then I was top 5 going into the kettlebell deadlift workout, and I had, was 100 box overs in there. I got through them fine. It came down to that workout that I hadn't done enough work for that workout, which now we understand and I'm totally okay with. But that's what pushed me out of the top 5, and then I had to like kind of like try and climb my way back in, but the workouts weren't really like there. And then obviously 100 points that I lost on that lifting event as well, like it was kind of hard to claw back then.
When you're in the last chance qualifier spot, are you like, I assume your initial reaction to strength and depth is disappointment that you didn't finish inside the top 5, and then you're kind of, I guess you mourn that for a little while, and then are you like, do you try and pick yourself up, or like do you, again, are you kind of like, oh, I should probably just leave it now, like, I've kind of proved my point that I did the semi-final and I proved my point, or are you like, oh, this is another opportunity, I need to go again?
Do you know what, it was the most maddest of feelings, because I did the last event and I knew I had absolutely fuck all to give in there. There was heavy-ish thrusters. I kept getting no rep on my squats, like I couldn't squat deep enough. It was just painful. It was just like I was doing that last workout knowing that like was watching the like time go past me, and I was just like, there's nothing I can do other than just wait for this workout to end really, and then just stand there and not get my space, because like that's what the result's going to be. And I was kind of just like, when I looked at the screen, I was just right, I'm above that red line for last chance. Let's fucking go again. And then I walked off the floor, and I was just like, the first thing I said to my coach, I was just like, we go again in 2 weeks. And he was just like, we go again in 2 weeks. And it was just like, it was there. And like I was like, if an opportunity comes my way, like in that kind of way, I'm never going to back down from it. If that's my goal and I've got the opportunity to reach that goal in some way or shape or form, like I'm never going to be like, oh no, I'm not going to do it. Like I'd always go for it. So yeah.
And who is your coach?
So I was working with his name's Dan. He owns CrossFit Faction. So he kind of like took me under his wing a little bit throughout the season, when things started to go a bit Pete Tong like. So yeah, he was amazing with me. We're in contact still now. Obviously it's very difficult being 5 hours apart. So yeah, he's still technically like a coach, in my corner, but not.
And are you doing Mayhem programming as well?
Yeah.
And how are you finding that?
Yeah, good.
I mean, you're obviously not doing much now, I guess.
Yeah, just doing what I can at the minute. But he Mayhem is very CrossFit based and stuff that I need to work on. So yeah, I'm loving it. Like, I love training all day, every day. Like, I love the volume, so that's just what it gives me, and I just love it. Yeah.
So you had surgery like last week, was it?
Yeah, so a week yesterday, yeah, last Wednesday.
And how did that go? Everything go to plan?
Yeah, I was prepared for it. So, like, I'm totally okay with it now. While as if it was like a sudden thing, like when it happened, it was sudden and I didn't know how to deal with the emotions of it. It was like completely different. So, like, with my surgeon, like, we planned the day that we were having it. Like, we were like, right, we'll get the Dubai qualifiers done. The day after we go in, we get it sorted. We've got like a decent amount of time to get fit again and recover. So, like, yeah, I'm prepared for it. But yeah, it was it's more so now. It's been the worst the last 3 days, while everything is starting to come back to life. The numbness is going a little bit within the knee, and like the pain is kind of there.
And what do they do? They just scrape stuff out?
Yeah, so they just went in and just kind of like took away whatever was in the way. Basically, like, a bit of the meniscus had come torn off and got stuck on the fat pad of my kneecap. So that was what was causing like the
Friction,
locking.
kind
But
of,
like,
yeah.
it was very weird because I was doing press ups and that's when my knee would be the worst. But now it makes sense because it was like within that, when my knee was at that point, it was getting stuck. And then it was like a little tear within some sort of ligament, but it was enough to kind of sort out whether they didn't need to repair anything, which was really good.
Have you got a second injury as well? Or am I, is there two things happening at once? Or am I wrong?
No, touch wood. I think it's just my knee.
Yeah, okay.
Which I'm dealing with. But yeah.
And what does the rehab look like for that then? How many weeks or?
To be honest, like, everything kind of like went past my head when he says you're going to be fit for Dubai. I was just like, okay, that's all I really needed to know. I just need know what I need to do within that time frame to be fit for that. So I'm not really bothered about, like, I know I'm going to be ready for that. So that's all I care about.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's like first weekend in December, second, like 7th or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. And the qualifiers for that then, I was Reggie told me a lovely little story about the qualifiers for that, where you asked him, should we set up another camera? And he said, no, it's fine. And he should have set up another camera. I'll tell you, I'm fucking impressed the relationship has survived that, because Manny wouldn't. Like, Manny wouldn't. And we were joking about it, where we both kind of said, like, oh, just if the question just hadn't have been asked, if it just hadn't been said, should we? And he said no. If that hadn't happened, totally in the clear. But it was because he had said, no, it's fine, I wouldn't bother. That's what caused that problem.
Do you know what though? Like, when it first happened, I was just like, the first time it happened, I was just like, okay, it's fine. And then the second time it happened,
so you did the workout, the camera died.
I did the workout, and Reggie went to pick the phone up to film the weights at the end and pressed fucking stop on the side of the phone. The second, so I was fine with that. I was like, okay, whatever, we'll rest, we'll go again on Monday, cool, whatever.
And this is the burpee one, isn't it?
Yeah. And then
So
came to Monday, I was just like, right, I didn't want to fucking do the workout again. I was just like, the whole way through, like up to the 5s and 6s, I was like, I want to stop. I was like, I don't want to do this. And then just got it done, beat my time, buzzing, clean and jerked 103 kilos, took like 30 seconds off my time. I was fucking buzzing. And then I could see them faffing around. I was just like, nah, surely not. And then I could see, I went up to the phone at the end and it wasn't recording. And I was just like, I looked at Reggie and he was just like, and I felt this rage, like, from my toes, like it was just building up inside, like it was coming up like this, and I was just like, you fucking I was just like, if anybody follows me out of this gym right now, I'm gonna knock them out. I was just like, don't follow me. I could hear Reggie coming behind me like, day. I'm like, Get away from me. I've never felt rage like it. And the fact that I said to him before, I was just like, they set up 2 cameras because of what happened on Fridays. It's like, nah, I'd be fine. And he still
Yeah.
can't take the blame. He still can't take that it was like partly his fault. I was just like, God, you know what? I'm done with CrossFit me.
Yeah, no, it's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could probably make another like relationship advice TikTok out of that of like if something is
Yeah.
suggested, just in case, just fucking go with it. Just say like, yeah, better off. I don't want to be
Yeah.
the one that says no.
And then he was just like that, and I was just like, oh fucking hell, I gotta do this for the worst workout of them all, probably.
But
Yeah.
he was saying you actually did better the second time than the first time, is that right?
Yeah. So the first time,
So did you do better the third time then?
but no, I had
Okay.
the second time. The second time was the best, and the third time was just like, I'm gonna try and get as close to what I did the second time, kind of thing. And I was 1 second off,
Oh yeah.
and I was 3 kilos off on the clean and jerk as well. I only hit 100 the third time.
Yeah, that's good. That's good coaching by Reggie though. So what essentially what he's done there is he's used you as the hare in the race. Like you're your own pace setter.
Yeah.
He's in 2032 and we're all in 2022. 5 years time, every coach will be doing that, getting their
Yeah.
athletes to, and they'll be like, "Oh fuck, I stopped the timer," and then
Yeah.
they'll do it
You know
again.
what?
Yeah,
Like now I look back, I think, do you know, that was probably like, if on paper that would be the workout I get most anxious for, is anything with like a fast threshold with burpees and a light barbell. So to be honest, I took a lot from it. I was just like, I got to do like an open style workout like 3 times. Like I'm exposed to it.
and you were so angry the second 2 times that you weren't even nervous. So
Yeah.
again, fucking good. Like
The
Kate doesn't even need to
third
be involved
time, yeah.
anymore. Yeah.
The third time I was just like, fuck it, let's just set up the camera and go.
Yeah, like screaming at the barbell. The barbell jumped
Yeah.
into your hands in fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a third time came around, I was just like, let's just get it done. But obviously a few days before that I was in hospital with rhabdo as well. So
Yeah, that was what happened. I knew there was a second thing. I knew something else
yeah.
had happened. What happened with that?
So in between the qualifiers, so I did the first qualifier, repeated the first qualifier, and then I did, obviously then the stress of knowing that the second time I repeated it is still fucked up. I then had to do the ball workout, and then that went pretty smoothly, like did what I could on that, and then I had like a pretty intense day of training following that as well. And then by the Friday night, then like the night of that day, I woke up and I just had the worst pain in my stomach. And Reggie was just like, "This is a normal." Like he was like, he kind of knows, and I'm not a drama queen in that sense. Like he's just like, "Fucking hell, something's not right. Like I'm gonna take you to hospital." And yeah, I had like an early onset of rhabdo. I was just like absolutely lush. Like nothing else can add to this year, which is just, honest to God, I couldn't write it if I tried. And then knowing I still had to do that first qualifier again. So basically we 5 workouts, I've literally only done 1. Even though I've done fucking mostly all of them.
Yeah.
Because I had to repeat. And then yeah, I was just like, I need to get these workouts out of my life now.
And was
So
that rhabdo from a specific site or was it just general like
it was
overuse?
just general, like my kidney function was down at like, I want to say 45%, and it should be 90.
You need to get like a pukey t-shirt or something now. You're like officially an OG CrossFitter once you got it rhabdo.
Yeah,
You've gone
enough.
back to like,
Yeah,
early 2010s. Yeah, that's
yeah,
impressive.
yeah,
But again, I mean, you can say what you want about him. He's giving you adversity. He's showing you that how strong you are, like
yeah,
mentally, physically. Do you know, like he knew it was coming. And that's why he's so ready to bring you to hospital. He was like, my plan is working perfectly. I'm setting her up for an amazing 2023.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
So
When
it was
like
just like following that. Then like I had to obviously have like the week of easy training to
yeah,
make sure that like
but you
when
also had to
I'm
do
doing,
the
yeah,
workout.
and then I had to obviously redo that workout plus the last 2 workouts as well. So it was
Yeah.
tough. It was very tough on the body and the lungs. But
But you're in though, aren't you?
yeah, I mean,
And
But
Reggie's in as well, isn't he? But when I was talking to him about it, he sounded less confident. He was like, so far, yeah. I think
yeah,
he's kind of worried.
yeah. No, in the final leaderboard apparently gets released tomorrow.
Okay.
We're checking it every day, and like it's good. So fingers
Where
crossed.
are you on it currently?
I'm in ninth now. I was in
Out
eighth.
of 20, is it?
Yeah, yeah. But
And where's he?
he's 16th, I think.
Okay. Well, you have a nice buffer. I was going to say, you're both well within the cut line, but like you have a nice buffer.
Yeah.
Reggie, yeah, probably deserves to be a bit more anxious, I suppose. But um, so when you like, obviously you're doing those workouts and you're both doing similar programming anyway, the same training house, I suppose, programming. So it's going to be similar. It's very volume intensive. Like it's notorious for being demanding time wise and volume wise and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you train, like together a lot, I suppose. Maybe not necessarily the exact same time or whatever, but a lot. And then you're doing qualifiers together. You're your own pit crew, I suppose, for qualifiers. Like rightly or wrongly, Reggie's involved in setting up cameras and stuff. And then you come home. Like, do you just not talk about CrossFit? Like, are you able to do that? Is it like, how do you switch off, or is it just kind of natural that like you're able to have a conversation about, oh, have you seen tomorrow's training or whatever? Or do you just totally avoid that altogether?
No, we're pretty just like we'll talk about what we need to talk about. Like we'll say, have you seen training tomorrow? It looks good. This that. Yeah, we don't really stress about
Mm,
about anything like that. We just kind of go with the flow, really. But like most of the time, like we do the same. We train at the same time. Maybe we're doing different things.
mm,
But there'll be like it's very rare where we'll go head to head in something.
yeah.
Um, we'll normally go like you go, I go kind of thing and get like more intensity out of things rather than like beat each other up a little bit. But
Mm.
with that, when we need it, it's there. So it's nice to have the mix.
So the plan then, say when you go to Dubai, will you bring? I'm raging now. I've forgotten your man's name. What did you say his name was? Rob? No, the guy that was coaching you, that was helping you at strength and depth.
Oh, Dan.
Dan. Will he go to Dubai or will you go solo?
Um, I've not really spoken to him about it. But there's the gym that we've currently been training at. The guy there, Johnny, he's been helping us out and stuff.
Okay.
Um,
And is
so I
that the
think
plan? Is that the plan? Like, say, moving forward, as in into the open and quarters and semis and everything, is to do it yourselves? I guess a kind of a hybrid approach. I suppose you're following programming, but you're in charge of it yourself. I suppose.
yeah. So that's the plan. We're just kind of just gonna have just enjoy it. Like
Hmm.
been through so much stress with other avenues of trying to, and it's just not worth it. It's really not worth it. Just want to like go in, do the open as like part of the community again. Do quarterfinals, like obviously a little bit more added pressure, but you've got like that nice little gym setup, people there, like rather than it being like 11 o'clock so and so's going, 11:30 you need to be warmed up, 12 o'clock you're going, like
Hmm.
do you know what, like I'm just want to enjoy it and just like I'm ready, I'm warm, let's go. And then when it comes to semi-finals, like it's obviously a whole different ball game. You're on the main floor.
Hmm.
Your time's there, like that's when you switch it on. um so yeah, I'm just looking forward to just going into the new season and just being relaxed and just like I almost feel like that, like relief of that kind of pressure, so
Hmm. Are you going to do Wadapalooza as well?
no, not going to do Wallapalooza. Just going to go all in on Dubai.
So Dubai and then the Open and so on.
Yeah.
That's the plan. Okay. Well, look, we'll finish with a quick fire. So burpee or thruster,
Burpee.
deadlift or squat,
Oh, squat.
dumbbell or barbell,
Barbell.
toes to bar or chest to bar,
Just a bar.
bike or ski,
Bike.
um, CrossFit or weightlifting.
Oh, CrossFit.
Thanks very much for coming on. It's been great to get to talk to you. Is it ever hard when you and Reggie go somewhere not Wales or like Newcastle and like talk to people? Like, are people ever like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I got, when he was on, I got loads, like a stupid amount, frankly, of messages from people saying, like, can you get subtitles on Spotify? And like, I was like, I actually don't find it that bad. And I think it's because in Ireland, we have like BBC and, you know, like we have English channels. So we're exposed to like the regional accents in the UK, in Britain and stuff. Whereas I think other people don't. Like, if you're,
Yeah.
you know, there's people in one part of Britain who have never heard like someone from Sunderland or whatever. So I think I'm kind of more used to it. But I was like, God, I really don't think. But then I was thinking about, like, if you have a Welsh accent and he's a Geordie accent and you go to like France or something, people must
Yeah.
just be like, what is happening?
Yeah. No, it's funny because like when I first come back home, people are like, Taylor, you're not Welsh anymore. You're basically Geordie. I'm like, no, I'm fucking not. I'm Welsh. And they're like,
Yeah.
no, you basically blended into like
I
one
can
thing.
actually, you can hear it sometimes, like when you said not there, that was a Geordie not.
Yeah,
But it was the same when I was talking to Elliot Simmons. I was like, there's a touch of New Zealand there sometimes when he says things. But sure, if it's all you're surrounded by, it's all you're going to pick up. Like,
yeah, yeah. So like people do say it to me all the time, but I'm like, no, I'm
yeah.
Welsh forever.
Well, look, best of luck with the season and with Dubai and with your recovery and everything. I hope everything goes to plan. And it's great to see you so settled and confident and composed and everything. And yeah, best of luck. It's been great to have you on.
Amazing. Thank
Thank
you.
you.